Hey everybody, so this is a John Deere riding lawnmower that I just picked up the other day. It's an LX 255. It's got a 15 horsepower Kohler engine in it. And I don't know anything about riding mowers, but this thing was offered at a price that I couldn't pass up. Somebody was offering it at $175 and I talked him down to $125 with my expert negotiating skills. And the issue was a no start, and I love no starts because most of the time you can fix it for free. It just needs a clean carburetor or something. Even if it needs some actual parts, it's usually something like a spark plug that's pretty cheap. So almost never pass up on no starts, especially when they're in good condition. And most guys just, if it doesn't start, they have no idea what to do with it. They maybe spray a little bit of fuel in the intake, and if that doesn't work, then they give up and they sell it for almost nothing. So didn't know what these things were worth, but I knew it was worth way more than 120 bucks. So I picked it up and I brought it home, changed the oil, and then I tried to crank it, and it just cranked and cranked. Took the spark plug out, tested that to ground. It was putting out spark just fine, so I knew the coil and the wires and the spark plug were all good. And it just didn't seem like it was getting fuel. I put a little bit of fuel in the intake, and it would start up and then it would die almost immediately. So I took the carb out and I cleaned it, put it back in, still had the same problem. It just was not getting fuel. So I came over to this side, and right here, it's a little bit dark. Here, I'll go get a flashlight. So right here is the fuel pump. And I took that guy off, and it's a mechanical fuel pump, so there's just a little arm right behind those two bolts right there. That's how it comes off, 1 bolt, 2 bolts. And when I took that out, I moved that arm back and forth, and it shot fuel through just fine. So that wasn't the problem either. Fuel pump sends the fuel through this side, back over to this side, and it comes into the carburetor, which is right there, through this little tube. After I cleaned the carburetor, like I said, it still wasn't working, which was strange because it was clearly a fuel issue. So I looked at this little goober on the bottom, and it's some kind of solenoid. So it unclips. It's got a single wire connector here. And let me put something to catch the fuel before I take this out. This is just a piece of a cup that I cut the bottom off because I don't want fuel leaking all over the place. And I always wear gloves when I deal with fuel because it just stinks. You get gasoline on your hands and you cannot get that smell out for hours. The wife usually hates it. So let me disconnect this guy real fast. Just a single little connector, little power connector. And then this will unscrew from the bottom of your carburetor bowl, and you can see fuel's leaking out. So the float bowl had plenty of fuel in it. Okay. And when I got this thing out, so what I figured out by reading a little bit is that this guy is a backfire preventer. And what it does is when you turn the key off, this thing is not energized. And so this little stopper at the end here, if I can get it to focus, this little stopper will go up all the way like it is right now, and it will plug the main jet. So no fuel will go into the carburetor. And it immediately kills the fuel whenever the key's turned off, so you don't get a little bit of dieseling and fuel buildup that ignites in the exhaust and causes a backfire. So that's what this thing does. And it seems like what's happened is it keeps getting stuck. So right now this should be a little bit spongy. I should be able to push it down, and I can't. And it's as simple to free up as just pushing on it. And you can see that it's all gummy, and that's not how it's supposed to be. So what I'm gonna try and do to fix it, oh, whoops, I just broke that little guy off. So that might fix it actually. But I'm gonna try something a little bit better than that. And I'm gonna put some WD-40 or something in there, and maybe even something a little bit better to make sure it's permanently cleaned up. And then put it back in, and that should do it. That'll get it started. I know that that'll get it started because I already got it to work. I did this a couple days ago, and I thought it was fixed just by, you know, kind of working this thing a little bit until it started coming up and down freely, but then it wouldn't start for me today. So I figured this was the problem again. It was having the same issues, and sure enough, it's all gummed up again. So I'm gonna have to mess with this a little bit more. Might put a little bit of anti-seize, not sure yet. I'll comment below when I figured out what works long-term. And worst case scenario, I'll have to replace this stupid little part, and it'll probably be $25 or something ridiculous for a fairly useless little solenoid that doesn't need to exist. So anyway, thanks a lot for watching, and that's how I fixed this LX 255. By the way, I didn't know what to charge for this thing. I started trying to sell it for $750. Nobody bit, and I wanted to sell it really fast because it smells like gas and I don't want it in my garage anymore. So I lowered the price to $600, and I got a couple of hits. Somebody's coming to look at it tomorrow, so pretty good margin on this one. For so far I've spent $0 fixing it up. Anyway, that's been my first experience with riding mowers. So hopefully you all can use that, and talk to you later. Bye.